Hey, welcome back to our Let's Animate series. We've got our Force Awakens parody here up on the screen, ready to go. If you remember from our last session, we were working on getting the crawl and getting this screen space sorted out, get it to appear, move up the screen, and then be paused there. I did go off screen. I went and checked. As embarrassing as it is, I did have to go and check and see exactly what was going on in the background of the Star Wars crawl. We had our logo here that we were copying from, and we had the star background that I had put in here to try to add the space light to the background on the screen. And I was confused as to whether or not there actually were stars in the background of the Star Wars opening crawl. And of course there are, but like I thought, they're just much less dense. We don't have this hard-packed area of stars here. It's more like this up here in the top left. The whole screen is very much more faint, not nearly as densely packed. More sporadically distributed throughout the void of space back there. So I have confirmed that. And I also went and I found the first little bit of text for the New Hope crawl. We're going to load that in here and make sure we get the font style, size, everything like that we want to appear, showing up properly on our screen. And again, if you missed the other episodes, I do this often, especially for things that aren't really critical to my my jokes or my storytelling. I will just, things that I want to make sure are accurate, I will just take a file, trace over it so I know that I'm getting the correct final product I'm looking for, and copy it that way. Using copied, traced material to make sure that my material comes out how I want it. As opposed to actually tracing and copying someone else's jokes. That's not what's happening here. It's just to speed along my process, get some results down on the screen, and get things moving. Before we get too deep in here, I do have a confession to make. Something I never thought I'd have to tell you guys, but I'm seeing another project at the moment. I've got another. I broke my own rule just a little bit. I mean, it's not really broken if I come back and work on this and do the recording as I said I would, but I broke my rule a little bit, and I have a new project that I've been working on off camera. There was an episode of a certain program on YouTube that shall remain nameless, but rhymes with FLSS, and there was a funny exchange that was going on. It's going to be a very short video. It was a short exchange. Just a few words, but I want to get that in video form because I instantly had some images jump in my head that I wanted to animate and bring forward for you guys, and try to get some eyes on it because I think it's going to be a funny one. So I've got that going on the side. It's about probably 30% done. Like I said, it's as long as I keep doing this project and the recordings of it, I have no problem with it. I just don't want it to stall out. If we switch partway through, I wanted to keep this recording each session to a project, so I wouldn't switch Let's Animate over to this new project while the Star Wars parody is remaining unfinished. The point was to finish stuff. So as long as I can keep juggling both off screen, on screen, I will be happy. But if I find that something's going on, I'll have to change. I'll have to put one of these on the back burner, probably the new video. Finish this one like I said I would, so as to remain committed to that promise. We'll just do this on this layer, I guess. Remain committed to that promise and actually accomplish finishing a video. Everything looks about right here. We want this ahead of this. And we want no fill on this, I think. So yeah, I started also on the side. How am I going to do this? This should all be maybe this will be text. Yeah, maybe I will do that. It's going to take forever to trace over all this, and it's so small that maybe we'll just copy the text. Yeah, that'll be what we do. So we'll write in here, new hope, although it might be hard to find the right font. Yeah, hopefully it was, well, that's actually not that bad right there. What are the odds of that? The W is a little bit too narrow compared to this one, but I mean, come on now. That's pretty impressive. Just going to get our stats here from the yellow. 255, 255, and 0, even though you can't see that. And then in our new hope, we will do the same. We want no stroke, and we will fill 255, 255, and 0. So that yellow should match. We'll bring that across, and then kind of squish it into this space like so. Looks pretty good. There we go. I'm not going to get into trying to make it look like the words are going into the screen. Like mine is just, it's going to be just text across here. It's just going to be the first few lines. The point is the Star Wars Episode 4 and A New Hope are centered on the screen roughly, and because that will be what our buddy is ultimately tracing. Now I don't know when we're going to get to that stage, but that will be what we want to be appearing. We've got the text up, and then maybe we'll start looking at how we're going to make a fake layer in front here to have all this stuff appear out of. I guess we could do it section by section and switch layers so it just appears and then moves out. We just need an area here that is it can have something hidden behind it, and then we can just cram everything over top of itself and then move up. But we'll get a little bit more detailed in the future. So we're going to duplicate this. We're going to call this one episode IV. Why didn't that take? Episode IV. So yeah, so I was on top of the other project. I've been pretty busy with all this video stuff because I've also started doing afternoon gaming, where I sit down for an hour or so in the afternoons and play some Spelunky. And I went into the reasons why I was playing Spelunky and what I plan to have for a schedule for that. But yeah, I mean, it's been interesting. Honestly, it was the recording bug that I picked up here that caused me to start that session and upload it to the channel. And there's some other stuff I want to do as well. I was scheduling my week for this week, and looking at my free time compared to work stuff, compared to home stuff, compared to just whatever else I'm doing at the moment. And the thing that I found was I had a few 2-hour blocks here and there that I could schedule in some recording time, and that's what I'm doing. So I got an idea for a third. It's just going to be another gaming thing, honestly. But what it will be is I've been throwing some ideas around, but right now I think I'm landing on Dungeon of the Endless. It's a game that I think is tragically underrepresented in YouTube, and it's such a good game, amazing soundtrack. I'm not very good at it, but I enjoy it quite a bit, and I might be looking to include that in a window that I'm able to create, a recording window that I'm able to steal during the week, and throw that up in the afternoons, maybe like earlier afternoons, like around noon. So there'd be Let's Animate in the morning, which is I enjoy spending my mornings like this with a cup of coffee like I've got right now. and just sit down and work on a project for a couple hours. And then I've got the gaming afternoons, which I do later. And then I'm thinking maybe something at lunch, you know, a nice lunch break. Maybe shorter videos. I don't know. There's something to fill the lunchtime a little bit. But we'll see how that goes. I haven't played in quite a while. But I'm looking forward to, when I came up with the idea, I started, you know, was looking forward to it right away. What a great idea. I'd love to jump back into that game where you're basically dungeon diving while you crash land. And you've got to work your way through a dungeon. You're down at the bottom. You've crash landed to the bottom of this mysterious planet dungeon. And you've got to work your way back up to the top. There's a whole bunch of mechanics that are at work there, unlocking doors, basically, waves of enemies. It's a mix of tower defense, it's a roguelike, and it's an interesting concept, and I've always been amazed that when I went looking for some help, some tutorials, I was shocked at how few there were, and how little content in general there was for the game. So I might be looking back into getting into that. It's either that probably, or Ascendant, another game where I like the art style and the aesthetic a lot. So I might be looking to get into it for those reasons. Just kind of gush over some of that stuff a little bit, and then that looks pretty good, I think. We get rid of the backdrop here. Oh yeah, it needs a little bit too wide. Actually quite a bit too wide. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll work our way through here. All this is just a touch too big. Ultimately, if we want this stuff to be here, and we want this to be here, then we want this to be, it doesn't have to be exact. I mean, it's got to get the point across, right? I'm just going to take a peek. It's something you can't see here. That's a bit big. That's unfortunate. What can we do? What can we do? What can we do? We come back in here. We can scale it down a touch. And we can do the same here. And we'll scale this down to the same. And then I'll come into here and do the same. And now, striking something, dark side. It's not my joke. I'm not I'm pretending that it is, but it's an homage to that great show, or formerly great show, that famously did a whole series of episodes lampooning Star Wars. So I just want to pay tribute to that a little bit, I guess. And I think I said before, excuse me, I love Easter eggs. I'm always into that kind of thing. Little nods, little homages to different media properties, different I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Just leave it at media properties. Different shows, different stories that people have told, different jokes that other people have made, insert them into my own. The overall joke here is still my own creation, so sprinkling in a few Easter eggs for flavor I don't think is terribly atrocious. Now, the reason I'm stalling here is I'm looking at this last something dark side, and I think it should be, these are all should be stretched to fit and fill the entire space, and to keep true to the motif of Star Wars, right? Like, it is a period of civil war is the first line in the crawl, but it's also takes up the entire distance across, although here it stops. The end of the paragraph is just the evil galactic empire. I guess we should figure out. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll do, that's easy enough of a fix. I'm fixating on this entirely too much because I wasn't quite prepared to jump into recording. My first recording ran long. I was going to take a break, and then I thought, no, I can squeeze out another episode right now. And but I wasn't totally prepared, so hopefully you'll bear with me. If I just take that out, striking. No, I don't need to take it out. I just need to change my break. Something. We'll just do two somethings. It's not the accurate quote, but it keeps everything about the same size, like the ending. So we can then just stretch this out. Scale it down maybe even more. But then stretch it out to take up the whole screen. And I'm going to check. You can't see. I'm going to check. There it is. I think that'll look good. You can tell that the crawl is starting. Although I don't like some of this. I'm going to just a little bit of space. There, is that good? I don't know. Yeah, too much uncertainty, too many options. I just can feel myself fixating on things that really are not that important. We've got the text, we've got the identifying headline, and we've got the legendary Star Wars. We'll throw in some stars for good measure, and then we'll be good to move on to our hiding strategy, which could be tough. In the VCR, in the cart layer, no, in the TV layer, yes. In the TV layer, there is this. I'm just going to keep these settings here. What is this? 54s across the board. Then when I go to here, I got that. It's still 54s across the board. Yep. So we're going to do an image like that. And we're just going to throw this across here. There. And there. And there. While you listen to and are lured in by the sultry sound of my voice clicking silly points. Yeah, so I'm doing that other series, the Spelunky series, and the story that I was trying to tell and then never really got around to telling. Maybe I'll try to finish that here. What kind of size do we want on these? Are they yellowish? Where's my reference? Let me just check my reference here. Yeah, they look more like a white. Just a white. I guess stars in cartoons are yellowy. In real life, they're more white. So we'll just get some different size, various sized stars. That's way too tiny. Let's do a bunch that are like 5. We'll do some, that's the wrong color. Yeah, in Spelunky, I was talking about, what was I talking about? I was talking about a show that I watched on Netflix. And that show was The End of the Effing World. And it's, the effing is bleeped out in text. It's got asterisks for the U, the C, and the K, I believe. Which is fine. I always, that kind of stuff has always made me a little unsure. Like, I don't understand I know why they do it. And the one I'm thinking of the most is radio edits. When you have a song and you have a radio edit for language. I can understand a radio edit for length has nothing really to do with the artist, and if a radio station, back in the day, kids, there were things called radio stations where a man sat in a booth for multiple hours and played music, and he was responsible for changing records and for queuing up playlists and making sure everything went smooth and doing banter such as I'm doing in the background. And obviously time was important, so they had radio edits for songs. Now I just sound like a total condescending jerk. I mean, it started out as a joke, but then I go to actually explaining it. I didn't mean to actually explain it. I should take that back, and I do. But anyway, yeah, I understand radio edits and the need for radio edits. What I don't understand are text or lyric edits, because I understand why they do them, because of censorship and all that fun stuff. But to me, what I really don't understand is when an artist does their own radio edit. That drives me absolutely crazy. If a radio station or whoever does, the mixes for songs before they go on the radio wants to throw in a little stutter where they bleep out the word, or just remove it from the song, I'm more fine with that and understand that more so than I do an artist recording their own radio edit. I don't respect that. The song is what the song is, and if the words to the song cannot be said on the radio, then take those words off the radio. Don't change the song. That's the easiest way for an artist to lose all my respect, is to do their own radio. I'm typing the word artist as I'm saying artist. I still need a lot of practice at this job. Easiest way for an artist to lose my respect is to record their own radio edit, because if that's not what the song is, then you shouldn't be singing that song. It drives me crazy when I hear it. If you're you should stand behind the work that you put out, the work that you do. If you're not just a commercial shill, then you should value the work that you do and not change it just so that you get all that radio playtime. I'm totally losing my train of thought because I'm trying to do too much here. But I'm trying to set up my hiding layer. And this is going to prove to be probably a little bit more, if not difficult, then at least more time consuming than it probably needs to be. It doesn't need to be this wide either, does it? And we're just going to try to overlay the same thing that we've already got on here. We'll see how this looks. What we've got going on. Let's just quickly copy these. No, that's not the right thing we want to do. We want to do Control C, and then we want to go to the hiding layer and try Control V. There we go. In the hiding layer, we will then move all of these over to here. And I don't even know why I got onto the top. Oh, because at the end of the effing world. This is the same thing that happened in Spelunky, is I just totally lost track of what I was trying to say, because I had a weird sort of relationship with that show where I binged watched a lot of the episodes towards the end of the last week. It was a very quiet week for me. Not going to be the same case this week, but so I enjoyed it while I had it, and I binge watched the end of the effing world, and I'd seen it on the Netflix, site, homepage, like load screen when you're trying to decide what you're going to watch, and I didn't really know what it was, and I kind of looked into it and understood it was like a dark comedy. I'm like, okay, that's up my alley. I could like that, but then I ignored it for a while, and then I read something or heard a comment or read a comment somewhere that said it was, it's a pretty good show, or why it's the best show on Netflix right now. Might have been the title of the article or whatever it was that I saw. And I thought, come on, best show on Netflix, really? Like, what are you doing here? But I decided to give it a chance, and like a lot of things that I liked, the first 2 episodes I thought were great. I mean, they were worthy of praise for sure. And then things started to stall out. There were still a lot of good moments, no doubt, but things really, excuse me for a second, things really stalled out for a bit, and the ending in particular I was a little bit disappointed with. It's an ambiguous ending, and I read some stuff online after the fact that maybe it was ambiguous in the hopes of bringing back or bringing a sequel into the possibility, and that kind of drove me crazy. And again, it kind of connects into that whole radio edit thing, because to me the story is what the story is, just like the song is what the song is. If X thing happens at the end of the show, then say it's going to happen, or leave it ambiguous to let the audience decide. Don't do it. Even that I don't really like, but don't do it, for sure don't do it in the hopes that you bring this show back for another season. And that I just can't get behind, you know. It's a little too on the nose. Yeah. But I mean, the show itself was good. It was solid. There's a character at a point, and he talks about how sometimes he just lets things happen, you know, like, and it's a pretty important part of that episode, and it's a pretty important part of that guy's character, and it's ends up being a pretty important part of the show. This idea that he sometimes just kind of goes along with things, and no spoilers or anything. In that particular episode, it's pretty disturbing what he allows to go on in this particular restaurant, and yeah, I think they're at a restaurant at that point. And yeah, I was just, I didn't realize that. I mean, I knew it was a dark show, but it went pretty dark, and it carried on. That was an early episode. I think that was the second one. And I mean, I respect it for that, for going into territory, and you know, kind of personality traits and how they lead to certain, you know, horrible things happening. But that one took me by surprise, and I mentioned it in that Spelunky episode as a thing. Oh, you know, sometimes I just let things go on. But I mean, there are some situations where that can be a real problem. That's a devastating issue, and for me, it's just an off-the-cuff kind of thing. And I've never been exposed to what goes on in that episode, and it's an eye-opener, you know. I don't know how real any of it is, but I'm sure that I could see how that mindset, or you're too scared, or you're too just sort of dead inside to let, so dead inside or so scared to just let things happen. And it's pretty scary stuff. But anyway, I don't want to get too dark here, and I've stalled out on progress because I'm having a hard time expressing these thoughts and accomplishing what I want to accomplish at the same time. But obviously this hiding layer needs to be over top of this. And then these words can start to move in behind, and you can probably just stack them. They probably don't even need a switch layer. They can probably just be stacked. My problem is I don't know if, wait a minute, what layer was that on? Right here, obviously. That'll fit fine, but the Star Wars is not going to fit in behind this background. And then I got to get into making a background, a hiding layer that fits all this and all, I don't know. What I might do is just have it start part way. Yeah, we won't hide it completely. We'll start it here. And so when we come into the scene, you can't see this. I gotta see if I can fix that. It's gonna start moving from here. So when this scene starts, our little blue box here, and we've cut to this part of it, it's gonna start with the star already exposed, just so that we don't have to hide the whole thing for those couple of frames that are going to be there, where it's going to all be hidden. If we go through all the work, just doesn't seem to justify all the work that would be necessary. And I just deleted the whole thing. I just want to move that out, and then I'll delete this because we don't need a switch layer here then. We're just going to have that start. So we've got that hidden. Maybe I always get confused on whether or not I should be animating some of this stuff as I go. I have done it in the past just for practice, right? I mean, it helps me get used to how to animate everything without making a fool of myself. I mean, that's moving pretty fast, but it doesn't have to be a realistic crawl. Otherwise, we'll be standing here forever staring at this stuff. If it's a 2-second crawl, yeah, like this, we then need the episode 4 to appear. Yeah, pasting this stuff might be a little tedious. I don't think it'll be hard necessarily. It's got to get to the same point, basically. Not to the same point, but to its home point. in the same amount of distance. Everything has to stop at the same time because it's going to be frozen. Because it's going to be paused, right? By Mr. Abrams. We'll just do a quick animation on this. Things start to move at different paces, right, as they near the end. Star Wars is ending, and so is the episode 4. Like, it's still moving to reach. It's pretty good, though. I don't think anyone's gonna really care. So we'll have this. This has got to appear. Mark it there, and then it can start to move at the same time, and then it's got to finish at the same time. There we go. Things are going to move a little bit janky. Yeah, see, it's trying to catch up. The New Hope part is trying to catch up. Yeah. So it might look a little weird. We could probably tweak it a bit. We'll get the text moving now too, and we'll see just how janky it ends up looking. And that'll just kind of go like that. That kind of comes up fast. I guess they don't have to end at the same time. These can move back a few points. I guess if we look to see how long, so this is a full second plus 1, 2, 3, 4 frames. So we need an extra 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 frames. Right, and then we do the same with A New Hope. We'll move it back even more. 2, 3, 4. And then the same with the text. If we move it back, from this point, 1, 2, 3, and 4. How will that look? Yeah, it's not quite. If we assume that we assume the Star Wars is fine. Episode 4 needs to catch up a little more. The New Hope needs to move much quicker. Much quicker. So does that mean that it just needs to happen faster here? Or is the whole thing just too laggy? It should never be the distance. It needs to be a solid distance in behind this. It can't, because that's not how the crawl works. They all stop at the same time because it's going to be paused. But they have to move in such a way that they stay the same distance. So, episode 4 and A New Hope need to start and stop from roughly the same place. So if we have episode 4 is here at this point, then we also need to make sure that A New Hope is in its place in behind it, where it's going to be at that point. And then they all move together to the same mark here. Same as here. Right? And then everything, they should be locked. No, they kind of fade because they don't move at the same speed, because I've got an extra frame on A New Hope here. So if we just delete this one, then how does this end up looking? We're on 30 minutes now. That's crazy how that has jumped ahead. Story time didn't last that long. I'm going to put a cut in here. This is my my one-off for right now. There will be another video in the morning, but my recording session will be broken up a little bit. So until then, thanks very much. See you soon.